Welcome back, everybody. Quick update on the install of the Dynamite 19 in the HPI Bullet. So I just wanted to let you guys know a couple things. This is how the exhaust is fitting without modifications. This is the exhaust manifold from the HPI Truggy, the 3.5 version or 0.21. What I've done here is I've used the gasket that comes with the motor, with the engine itself, slid that onto the exhaust port, and then I used the gasket that came with the exhaust manifold and slid that over the engine gasket and then slid the pipe on. It's nice and tight. I don't think it's going to have any leaks. Feels sturdy. I used both springs, the one that came with the manifold and the one that came with the engine, slightly on top of each other. The reason being is the carburetor sitting right there, so there's not a whole lot of space for the spring to sit. This is the original coupler with the original exhaust. I just removed it from the old engine and slid it on here. Had to readjust the pipe a little bit, just a little bit of a slight angle, if you will. Other than that, the exhaust went quite smoothly. The other issue I had to deal with was the crankshaft is not as long as the G3.0. So there is the outer bearing on the clutch bell is not, it's sitting about 50% onto the shaft, and that's with the required shimming to help it spin freely. So I hope that doesn't become a huge problem, but I shimmed it the least I could while trying to maintain a somewhat decent install depth on those bearings. Not a big deal. The other problem that I ran into was that the flywheel and the bell are not engaging fully. So in order to get it to this point, I had to actually remove the center slipper clutch and flip the spur gear 180 degrees because it is offset a little bit. And in the process, I had to grind a little bit of the top plate here for the spur gear not to rub. It does seem to be spinning freely now. It's hard to do with two hands, I guess. There we go. It's very close, but it doesn't seem to be touching. And then if we go to the bottom, it's even closer. But again, does not seem to be touching. I don't feel any drag when I was installing it. So that's what we're gonna rock with right now. It's the only option we have, unfortunately. Hopefully this doesn't strip the gear. Yeah, other than that, we are gonna be breaking it in right away here. I ran out of time yesterday. We're gonna be using some Sidewinder, 20% nitro, 12% oil. I also have some Blue Thunder, but I believe this is 11% oil. So we're gonna leave that for a little bit later. We're gonna break it in on the highest amount of oil possible. I saw a lot of discussions about the needle settings being off on this engine from the factory. Some people are saying 2.5 turns out on the high speed, 2 3/4, so on and so forth. I am going to leave it as is and see if it starts. If it starts and it runs and it's running rich, we will be leaving them that way. Otherwise, I will be readjusting. But other than that, the install went very smoothly. The HPI pull start, as stated earlier, works. The one-way bearing works as well. I did have to shim the one-way bearing. I put an O-ring there just to give it a little bit, to push it out a little bit further so the starter engages a little bit better. The reason why I did go with the HPI stuff is obviously cost. That way I can return the Traxxas parts if this starting system proves to be reliable. And the other thing is, I'm not a very big fan of Traxxas parts, and this is one example of it right there. One-way bearing, 2 straight sides. Same thing obviously on the pull starter. That is almost a guaranteed failure point. You have so much area. You could have made a hex like HPI does. If we look at the HPI one-way bearing, it is a hex, and that is a significantly better option. So the only way that this fails is if the actual pull starter splits the ring inside. Here I have the the rotor start system from a Savage, and it's even metal geared, which is even better. But I don't think we'll be using this one on this engine particularly. So yeah, we're gonna be breaking it in today and see how she runs. Hopefully this is gonna be a success story. Some people are not happy with this motor. Some people are very happy with this motor. It's the only option I have that's readily available, so I hope this works out. See you later.